I have to say that I love my job. I I get paid to have fun, and I get paid to meet and interview people whose talent I truly admire. And I can't really say there's a lot of people left who I really want to interview. On my short list would be Leonard Cohen, Tom Waits, and Tori Amos. I get to scratch that last name off the list today. Tori, very nice
Hi.
to meet you.
Hi.
Like I told you off camera, I'm a big fan. So, at the risk of sounding unprofessional, I might have to gush a little bit. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So, where do I start? I mean, I have so many questions for you. Let's start with this first. The new album,
Hmm.
Strange Little Girls. I gotta ask you, what were you like as a little girl? Were you strange?
Well, I think any time that you have an imagination
Mm-hmm.
or you have questions that don't fit in with what the question should be, my desk was always in the corner at school.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, yeah, I don't know what it was, but I just couldn't say the right thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, your desk was in the corner. Mine was at the back because I was tall. And I had a long last name too, so I got the double whammy. So what about looking back now? How do you still see that little girl inside you now, as an adult, at all?
sometimes I do. I think that there was a while, maybe in my 20s, when I lost her. I had a hard time because, you want to be independent and you want to have your own domain,
Mm-hmm.
and you're fighting for your sovereignty. But you don't understand, I didn't anyway, that a part of that is really being able to know my little girl well and
Mm-hmm.
have her close to me.
Right.
And it took me, a while for me to find her again. But now that I have my own daughter,
Mm-hmm.
I really, I love sitting on the floor and playing Gumba 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 with Tosh.
What's Gumba Gumba Gumba?
I have no
Oh,
idea.
okay.
But it's loads of fun, and I really recommend it.
Okay, I wouldn't mind playing Gumba 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 one day. Maybe later. Maybe we can play Gumba Gumba. What was the biggest surprise that came with motherhood?
Quite a few things. I think the amount of this protectiveness that you have. But it's not just, before maybe it was rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
I was definitely, I guess, somebody that used to have a short fuse maybe, but for the wrong reasons.
Right.
Some Mexicans would cut me off in LA and I'd chase them down the road screaming. It became a ridiculous sort of, I don't know what it is. I can't describe it, but very combative sometimes. When you live in a very tough city, sometimes you get combative, especially if you're a woman alone. I was out late at night playing clubs. I would be driving home by myself in East Hollywood, which is not the best neighborhood on the planet. And, you become sort of, I don't know, I guess you could say I dressed on the left.
Well, you got to do that.
But now that I'm a mom, it's much more of a sort of a warrior mother energy. So.
Very nice, very nice. What about the whole pregnancy thing?
Best.
You liked it? You
I
actually
loved
liked it? Really?
I loved being a beach whale. My girlfriends had problems with it at a certain point just because I was so boring. I had a hard time. They had to kind of harness me up a hill. But I liked I stopped everything to go be Horton and sit on my egg. That's all I did.
Well, you look fabulous. You look beautiful. I
Thank
don't know how
you.
you lost it. Was it easy to lose the weight?
I eat really well.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend. I have a chef. I have good things in life.
Right.
I don't take Learjets to Colombia and, spend it on women and Coke, but I do. you know, I have a chef, and
That would probably require a whole lifestyle change.
that's a different
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But I believe in being healthy, and there's no way that I can tour the way I tour and accomplish what I want to and not. You just can't shortchange yourself on your nutrition. So I've been good to myself and to her. You know.
You mentioned the tour. I've seen you a few times, and you're amazing to watch. Fascinating to watch. Within like a few moments, you know, you go through all kinds of emotions as an audience member. That's what I see. At one point, it looks like you may be exercising some demons, and then the next, it looks like you're having a moment with your piano, a very sensual moment. How aware are you of all these hundreds of strange eyes that are on you when you're in that moment?
I don't. I have to detach myself from that part of it, because what I'm trying to do is just let my body be used for the songs to come in. You know, I've said before, it is sort of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but the idea is that the songs can personify themselves, and they take on different mannerisms, and they have different attitudes, and I feel that from them. Mainly, you just try and make yourself like clay so that it can just be molded, and that I've developed skills over the years so that the different songs that want to come into flesh can sort of access the tools that I've tried to put in my toolbox. But it's not really just me up there. I can't take credit for that. I'm just sort of a canvas.
So you feel the energy from...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you work off that.
Oh, yeah.
What about when you play some of the older songs? I mean, a lot of your songs are very passionate and very honest. What about a song like Me and a Gun? Where does that bring you? Does it still bring you to an emotional place all these years later?
Yeah, of course. Me and a Gun, however, has now become, with Rain, it's a mantra. It has taken on, if you look at it, it has a map with it now. And Me and a Gun is a place that a lot of people have been able to go for solace. She's like a waterfall. And so I go and sit by her waterfall now. I talk a lot in symbols just because it is very visual. When you're dealing with the untangible, which is song world, to bring it into three-dimensional world tangible, it's very hard sometimes to describe it because you can't catch it by camera. It's not like you can see the songs taking form. It's just something you go from one to the other, and it could look like I'm a bit of a lunatic.
I love the way your brain works, though. I mean, I've seen tons of interviews with you, and I guess some people would say that you're a little left of center, a little kooky. Well, do you think that's an accurate...
Well, it depends. I mean, you know, the thing is, I have the friends of mine that are Native American are a lot more, I guess, they're kind of understanding, and they know my grandfather's influence over me. And part of their whole teaching is about shape-shifting, that you don't take credit. It isn't just you that you're working with. If you believe in the spirit world, that ideas are alive. You don't own them, although you might get the publishing, and that's sort of groovy for you, isn't it? And I won't reject that, but at the same time, I think you have to just respect that the creative force is, you don't want to have hubris with it. Your ego needs to be in the back seat, and you can't take credit for something that's sort of the divine. My grandfather tried to teach me that, and I did get that when I was little. But then I became, you know, a 19-year-old that knew everything and had to posture and find my feathers. And,
I think we all go through that.
Yeah.
With age comes wisdom, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Not always, but hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yes.
But now that's where the shows are, where I can really see that I watch these women, these songs, that they are alive. They're alive to me. And they're not in physical form, but they're able to come in and use my body.
Let's talk about one of your songs in particular. One of my favorites from a long list of favorites from the album Under the Pink, The Waitress.
Yeah.
Love that. I'm going to read a line from it. The first verse. So I want to kill this waitress. She's worked here a year longer than I. If I did it fast, you know that's an act of kindness. But I believe in peace. I believe in peace, bitch. I believe in peace. Now, I think that's funny. I find humor in that. Am I just sick, or is that how you intended it?
No, I think that there's a place when your horns come out on your head and you're trying, God, I don't know about you, but I'm always trying to wrestle with my relationships with the world. Sometimes, because I'm a lioness and you really don't want to harm anybody, I don't believe in violence, but I'm a hunter. So it's those scales that you're always trying to find the balance. I mean, you sit there and just say, I'm trying to be compassionate, but she's a four-letter word that begins with a C, and it isn't cash. You know?
Gotcha. What sign are you, by the way?
Leo.
You're a Leo.
Yeah.
I'm
Last
a Scorpio.
day.
Do
Are
Scorpios
you?
and Leos get along?
Well, I think I have 2 Scorpios on my bus. My bodyguard's a Scorpio and my tour manager's a Scorpio. And we have this wild way of working because they're very covert.
Right.
And they let me think that I'm doing stuff when they're the ones that are really doing it. So it's kind of a...
So we're sort of on the same page.
Yeah, we do different things though.
Right. Very cool. Let's show the artwork here, because definitely have to show this. How much fun was it for you being all these different people here?
Probably the best fun I've ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as doing stuff with fashion.
I like this. I like this character here. It's like a lost little girl. And this one, I'd say. Hold on, not this one right here.
Well, she is the daughter of her. So she's murdered by her father.
Right.
They had her. And this is the mother in Bonnie and Clyde, who's killed. And this is the daughter who grows up, and this is what she becomes.
We should explain this for those that don't know. Each song on this album was given its own personality.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about here. And the song we're talking about, 97 Bonnie and Clyde, which is an Eminem song.
Yes.
And that's the song that I guess is getting singled out from this album the most, I would say. For one, because the lyrics, I think, are pretty violent, and the way you interpret it is pretty chilling. What was the mood in the studio the day you recorded that song?
The whole thing about achieving Bonnie and Clyde, nobody's asked me about the day in the studio. They wanted to know sort of the prep. And the prep was, I knew immediately when I heard it, her character truly reached out of that trunk and said, you know, you need to hear this how I'm hearing it, as he's telling this to my daughter, because I'm never going to be able to tell her how I heard it. And once I started investigating all this stuff, because I knew I was a bit in over my head when I decided that the project was based on how men say things and what a woman hears. I needed the men's input. I needed to know how men say things and what a man hears first. So as I gathered the men together from all sorts of different walks of life and sexualities and everything, preferences I should say, there was one consistent thing about this.
Uh,
Whatever they felt about this story, because it was as varied as the rainbow, not one of them wanted to know about her. And it became clear that she had no voice. Her character, his version is done perfectly how I think he wanted to do it, which is it's about him and his daughter. The wife is just this sort of detail.
you forget about her.
Yeah, she doesn't, you don't think about, well, did she laugh? What were her friends like? Would I have liked her? You know, what was her story? And a lot of times, you know, the victim that's gone, you don't, they do become nameless and faceless to the predators. And I mean, I've had letters from murderers, from rapists, from all sorts of people. Many that have said to me, you know, I've heard me in a gun. And some of them say, I didn't know that the victim had these thoughts. They're so detached. It's not.
Do you take that as a compliment that you're able to open up their eyes in a way, or how do you take that? That's a little intense.
I think you just realize that when you're working with emotions, it can be dangerous ground, and there is a level of real, I think, you know, I try and hold a space that has dignity and truth. And I think Eminem's version is very, very truthful. I think a lot of people feel that way.
Maybe
you know,
that's why they're disturbed by it, because it is truthful.
it is truthful.
Maybe they're not used to being so honest.
Yeah. And I didn't resonate really with his character. I resonated with her. So that was the beginning, and the day in the studio, to answer your question, was we built a confined space. The sound guys felt like, if we're going to really achieve this, because it's done as she's dying in the back of the trunk. This is her filter as she's hearing within seconds him saying this to her daughter. It's all like happening at the same time. That it's not her ghost. We go back to the murder scene. And we put her in a place that she couldn't get out of, that was confined. And I was stuck in there.
So you sang inside a box?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, confined. It changes everything.
Wow. Were you glad when you were done that song?
Yeah, I mean, this one is one of those where, because I got to know her essence a bit, and we tried to, with the team, give her a bloodline visually. Sharon Tate was our bloodline, who was also murdered. And when you're trying to sort of shape a character that you feel is as close as her essence, the sad thing is that there isn't a happy ending for her. She is dead, she dies, but she's become stronger in her death. She's become a powerful force in her death. Nobody was talking about her, 2 years ago, but people are talking about her, and I feel sometimes she just winks at me and says, at least people thought about maybe what I thought about.
The amazing thing about you, I mean, I'm sure every musician thinks they're passionate about what they're doing, but with you, it's so obvious that it's even more so. I mean, these songs are real entities, real people to you. Does it ever get to be too much? Too draining? Too much of you as a person, separate from who you are as a musician?
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe the reason that I don't... I've experimented with almost everything, like almost everybody. But the reason that working with creativity is so much more rich than any kind of substance. When you want to talk about substance, go to the creative force. However you play it out, whether it's visual or sonic or gardening, or even if it's just the way that you have a movie collection and what you share with your friends. Or creativity doesn't have to be just for the pros. I think that everybody has a right. Everybody has an inherent musical right, artistic right. And so it doesn't get too much, because it's like, I'm walking in ecstasy. It can be darkness sometimes. But there's one thing I do want to say.
Yes.
The thing that I so enjoyed working with these other girls. It was a real privilege.
These strange little girls.
Yeah, and I would like to think that one day other artists would like to work with my girls.
That's what was going to be my next question. If you could pick one artist to cover one of your own songs, which artist and which song?
I'm
making you think.
I think that Public Enemy could do a great version of God. I'd love to hear those men say, "Do you need a woman to look after you?" I mean, I think if you're going to take it on board and for it to work, there are reasons why I think the record works. I had a great team of people, and I had a control group of men where we were, thrashing things out. But the one thing that some of the American male journalists always get confused about is that they don't see, some of them, the gift that was exchanged. Yes, I infiltrated their world. Yes, I took their seed and planted it in the woman's voice, and that's where it was consummated. That's true. And maybe they don't like it when a woman plays chess like that with them. But the gift was that they were able to crawl inside her also and see how she heard what they said.
Right.
I mean, you can almost watch your own seed as a male be planted in her garden. I think that's really delicious. And if some men are offended, then they're missing the exchange. Because there is one.
I wholeheartedly agree. We're going to wrap it up. We're getting the signal there. So many questions, so little time, unfortunately. Hopefully we'll get a chance to continue this again.
Are you going to come tonight? I hope you can.
I really want to.
I'll get you tickets.
Yeah?
Yeah, I can do that.
And for those out there, let me remind you that David Letterman is up next. Are you a fan of David Letterman?
Yes, and especially after I was able to work with him a couple weeks ago after September 11th. He has been so giving to New York. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Tori, thank you very much.
Thank you, George.
Great pleasure. Bye-bye.